This is your last chance. After this, there's no turning back. You take the blue pill, you wake up in your bed, and you keep believing everything the holster companies tell you. You take the red pill, and I show you how deep the rabbit hole goes. Why is everybody into the audible click? Holster companies try to sell it as superior retention. The end user wants it because they think that loud clickety-clickety means a good quality holster. The reality is, holsters used to be made in a foam press like this. Some people still make them in a foam press like this. Dialing in the retention and the fit of a holster is really difficult with a foam press like this, and usually the guns and the holsters, the fit would be relatively poor. You'd have a bunch of movement in that holster and gun. So what they would do after forming, they'd heat up the trigger guard area with a heat gun or hair dryer or whatever they were using, and they'd take their thumb and they'd press in there. You can see on older holsters particularly, they'll have this shiny spot. The click comes from poor forming and poor mold prep, and it is a shortcut to ensure that there is acceptable retention. The same problem still exists with modern holster making. Not with every company, but with many companies. So people have moved towards CAD designs and computer modeling for building a 3D model of their tooling and then cutting it on a CNC machine. Doing a very detailed model that replicates the gun is very difficult and very time consuming in the development process. People shortcut that and they make very simple, blocky tooling in their CAD, and then the result ends up being still a very sloppy fit holster. This is a scanned gun model, and I'm gonna model a holster around it. So we'll time this and see how long it takes. It's been 3 minutes and 45 seconds, and I have a very simple CAD design that looks basically like a Glock. You know, this is maybe a little extreme. Probably most people are not doing something this simple, but it's probably closer to this. If I want to shortcut this thing, add just a few more seconds to it, and I add this little oval shape in there, and now I have my retention. It's gonna hold the gun very securely, but it's gonna be really clicky. What the holster industry doesn't want you to know is that even if they're using modern CAD and even if they're using CNC machines and all of those things, they're still taking shortcuts. They would rather pay somebody 10, 15, 20 minutes to do the modeling than pay somebody 10, 20 hours to do something that actually mimics the gun, that gives it that full friction feel. With Kydex or Bolteron, if you have that full friction fit, it's not gonna slow anything down. You're gonna have just as fast, but a more consistent, more reliable, more positive feeling both draw and reholster of the gun. Doing everything really well is not realistic. If you can do a whole bunch of things okay, you probably can't even do one specific thing well. And so holster companies will try to sell you a holster that does everything. It's both inside the waistband, outside the waistband. It's both left hand, it's right hand. It's all things to all people, which ultimately is nothing to no one. The reason why companies will go down the universal fit or the inside waistband and outside of the waistband or left hand and right hand, it isn't for you, it isn't for performance, it isn't for optimizing your skill set. It is to reduce development time and cost, it's to reduce inventory, it's to reduce manufacturing time and cost. It is shortcuts in order to capitalize on making money and selling you an inferior product. So here are a couple ambi holsters. This is actually one that's made by Tenicor, so at the request of another company. This holster is ambi, and so you have contours and features on both sides of the holster. Those contours and features are designed to rotate the grip of the gun in, to kick the muzzle out, to make it more comfortable and more concealable. But when you put them on both sides, it simplifies your inventory, but you put bulky things on the wrong side. This holster works actually really well for an ambi holster, but it is never gonna work as well as a holster that is designed and dedicated for right-hand carry or left-hand carry. The other thing that you end up with is sweat guards. So this guy has really high sweat guards on both sides. The challenge with a sweat guard like this is it becomes a channel that is gonna find the hem of your shirt, your concealment. It's gonna get stuck in between there, and then you're gonna end up holstering the gun with a shirt in the way. If this was a sweat guard on the inside and it was cut on the outside, the shirt would fall out in a way, and it would be less likely to get shirt and gun in the holster at the same time. Universal fit holsters, ambi holsters, multifunction holsters, they can work okay, but they will never work as well as a holster that is designed for a specific purpose. So holster companies try to convince you that bolt-on loops and wings that are slapped on the top of a holster are more durable, more concealable, and more robust. The truth is that these loop designs are an afterthought. They are added on after the fact. They are a very simple, very cost-effective way to make a decently performing holster, but they're not focused on performance for you, the end user. So the reality is a holster that has an integrated wing or loop, or a design like this crucial concealment holster that has the loop sandwiched in between the inside and the outside piece of Kydex or Bolteron that they're using here, is a much stronger, much more elegant, and much more durable low-profile design for a concealment holster. Have you heard that 06 and 08 material is durable and thin so the gun conceals better? The reality is that 06 and 08 material is just cheaper and easier to work with than 093 material. The holster companies that are using the thinner material are looking for something that is readily available, and they're trying to reduce costs. The 06 material is really flexible. The 08 material is still pretty flexible. The 093 is quite a bit more stiff and more rigid. So some of the companies will try to convince you that the thinner material matters for concealment because they're trying to make this low profile holster. The reality is the difference between an 08 thickness material and an 093 thickness material is about the thickness of 3 sheets of paper. Most of the companies who would argue the 08 or the 06 conceals better are also using big bulky clips and big bulky fasteners, and the right place to remove overall thickness isn't with the material compromising the rigidity and the strength of the holster, but it's by changing their clips, changing their fasteners, or moving the location to make a higher performing holster, a more concealable holster for you. Next, we're going to talk about plastic clips and how holster companies want you to believe that they are durable, low profile, and are great for concealment. Plastic clips are not popular because they are high performing. They're popular because they're inexpensive and easy to make. One of the main selling points with plastic clips for the end user is often that it's easy on, easy off, which is great if all you do is put the gun on and do dry fire and then take the gun and the holster off. It's terrible if you're going to carry the gun in the holster for the purpose of surviving a violent confrontation. Because when you're in the middle of the fight for your life and that person is trying to rip that holster off your belt, what you don't want at that point is easy on and easy off. Most plastic clips, in order to be durable enough, have to be pretty thick. And that thickness overall adds bulk to the holster and compromises concealment. Particularly top-mounted clips like this. Top-mounted clips like this are often pushed further away from the holster. They don't hold onto the belt very well, and they end up being the thing that actually prints. So if you compare a generic plastic clip like this to a metal clip like this one from Discreet Carry Concepts, you can see it is significantly lower profile, both in the overall thickness, but also in the thickness of the material itself. If you go with a metal clip though, it has to be designed properly, has to be manufactured properly, and it has to be made from the correct alloys. If not, you can significantly compromise the durability and robustness of that clip. So if you go with something like this T1 clip from Discreet Carry Concepts, you know you're gonna get an extremely low profile clip that is durable, that has a great amount of clamping force, and is gonna hold onto your belt well, even under the pressures of a violent confrontation. Final point is holster companies want you to think that their holster is special, that they have some unique fastener, unique clip, unique branding, unique functionality. And sometimes that's true. Like Tenicor and other companies, we do design and build everything in-house. But the reality is there is a huge section of the market where holster companies are all buying tooling from the same people. They're buying pre-made tooling, they don't make it themselves, pre-made gun molds, whatever it is they use to make the holsters, they're all buying it from the same place, and essentially all of these different companies are selling the exact same holster, only with some minor cosmetic change. So why do they do this? Well, it's really expensive to hire a team of engineers to buy CNC machines, to design stuff in CAD, and to machine all of your own tooling. It's much easier if you pay a few $100s to some other company that has done all of that work and you just buy the tooling. If you're somebody who wants to start a holster company, it's actually pretty easy to do with a few $1,000s. You could watch a bunch of YouTube videos. You could basically go to the same suppliers that everybody else goes to. You buy the parts, you buy the tooling, you get the stuff. For a few $1,000s, you can be set up and making basically the same holster that everyone else is making. Holsters are often an afterthought. People focus on buying the gun and they don't think about what holster they should buy and how it should perform. The reality is, the thing you're actually using most of the time is the holster. How the gun carries is way more important than how the gun shoots. Obviously, you have to be able to shoot the gun with a reasonable level of accuracy and speed, but you actually have to carry the gun every day if you're gonna have the gun with you. So don't think about holsters as an afterthought. Buy one from a company that has purpose-built designs that fit with your tactics and skills. To learn more about common concealed carry mistakes, take the red pill.